Bichuan City is named after the saying, "100 rivers flow to the sea," and it's a famous food capital known all over. Legend says that 200 years ago, some VIPs were traveling in the east and passed through Bichuan at night. The local official gathered chefs from everywhere just to throw a dinner party. 7 dishes from that party were super highly praised by the VIPs. And because of that, the 7 chefs received 7 knives engraved with 5 stars. 7 big families in Bichuan were formed, but they controlled the market and squeezed out other small chefs who didn't have family recipes. To get a chance to rise up, some of these smaller chefs would deliberately challenge famous chefs to get promoted. Jiangji, a 4-star chef, was no exception. Right after participating in a competition very seriously, the young man successfully won against his opponent, Mr. Liu. In this way, there's no one under 5 stars who is a match for him anymore. Unexpectedly, after many years, Bichuan had its 8th 5-star chef. The newspapers wrote about him like he was a strange phenomenon, and everyone was excitedly buzzing about it. However, Li Nai wasn't in the mood to worry about all that, and continued to be busy with the fish in her hands. Jiangji was sitting in his car, staring at the newspaper article. At this moment, he was ready to go challenge the Shi family to win their knife. Although this could negatively affect the reputation, the Jiang family still wanted to continue doing things their way and continued wanting to meet the person called the successor of Song Ming. When she got back, Li Nai was still diligently studying with her master by her side. This time, she wanted to cook alone again, but her teacher completely disagreed, directly cutting off that thought of hers. In the evening, Li Nai pulled her cart out and set up a street food stall. Soon, people came and lined up in droves. Jiangji also came and requested to eat snakehead fish noodles. Even though Li Nai clearly stated that she didn't prepare any fish today, the young man still insisted on having this dish. Li Nai had no other choice but to borrow a fish from Mr. C.I., who was standing nearby, and started making the noodles right on the spot. The girl began to seriously handle the ingredients. Jiangji wondered if this was Song Ming's student after watching the girl cook. After being confirmed by his assistant, he prepared to continue eating, but unexpectedly, the association's car arrived. Li Nai, along with all the other street food vendors and customers, packed up and ran away immediately, not forgetting to leave a message that she would pay him for the noodles when they met again. After things calmed down, Li Nai drove out and ran into Jiangji. Just as she was about to give him the bowl of noodles, someone else arrived, the noodles spilled completely, and the girl quickly got into her car and drove away. The next day, it started pouring rain. Jiangji, sitting in his car, stared at the sign in front of him and remembered the scene from his childhood, feeling even more upset and hateful. Suddenly, the girl from yesterday appeared, complaining about the car parked in front of the house. He heard this, decided to get out of the car, told his assistant to find a suitable parking spot, and was ready to go in and declare war. Song Ming wasn't too surprised by this, and he readily accepted the challenge. After the association arrived, the competition began. The two competed, their sense of taste evenly matched because of their incredibly skilled techniques. Song Ming also took this opportunity to teach his young apprentice his secret recipe for making noodles. However, victory leaned towards Jiangji. It turned out that Chef Li had lost his sense of taste and couldn't season the food correctly, which caused him to lose the battle. Li Nai knew the truth hidden deep inside, and couldn't help but be angry about the ruthless snatching of someone else's chef's knife. She cursed at him and then turned and walked away without hesitation. On the other hand, ever since Song Ming had his knife taken away, even his noodle restaurant brand had to close. Seeing his long-standing signboard taken away, he couldn't help but feel sad. After that, the 3 master and students went their separate ways. On the bridge, Li Nai and her teacher helped someone push a cart, and then she remembered the scene of him trying to persuade Li Nai to become his disciple. Song Ming looked into his student's eyes, comforting her that she didn't need to be too sad about her teacher situation. But Li Nai swore that she would definitely get the chef's knife back for him, and she would definitely defeat that person. After returning, Jiangji lay on his bed alone and fell asleep. At this time, he began to have nightmares and quickly woke up from his dream. Then he opened a picture of Li Nai and looked at it for a long time. Jiangji returned to the restaurant to welcome guests. With a few flicks of his knife, he created many beautiful and unique dishes worthy of a 5-star restaurant. At the same time, he also heard his assistant inform him about old Shi's shop reopening, which also surprised him. It turned out that Li Nai and Chui had continued to reopen the eatery, naming it Old Shi's Student Noodle Shop. She was also prepared to hone her skills to get the knife back for her teacher. But unexpectedly, the program of free food for the first customer was still met with people shaking their heads in disappointment and leaving. Li Nai was still not discouraged, ready to recharge her energy and run the shop well. However, the first customer they received was Jiangji. Unable to refuse this unwelcome guest, Li Nai had to grit her teeth and greet him warmly. After going into the kitchen, She directly picked up a knife and began to prepare the dish according to the other person's request. When the noodles were finished, Jiang Ji tried a piece of fish and a piece of noodles and immediately frowned. He agreed she had some talent in the field of cooking, but these noodles were completely unsuitable for her. At the same time, he also pointed out a whole bunch of problems with how the store was run and its advertising, all of which were serious issues she would definitely face. But Li Nai wasn't scared of any of that, because no matter how many problems there are always solutions, and she was ready to fight these challenges to keep pushing the store to the next level. Just when Jiang Ji was about to keep sharing his ideas, Cui showed up and cut him off. Seeing how close they were acting, Jiang Ji started to feel like he was overstepping, so he had to leave the shop, looking pretty awkward. Sitting there feeling down and trying to cheer herself up, the number of customers suddenly shot up, and they happily welcomed and served them warmly. After finishing up a busy day of business, Li Nai suddenly noticed that everyone had left a lot of food unfinished. This made her feel really bummed out, and then the food association sent someone over to tell them that their shop was forced to close. At first, Li Nai didn't believe it, but after carefully looking at the reviews and combining them with the actual situation, she finally realized her mistake. So, she had to follow the notice and temporarily close the shop. On the way, Li Nai suddenly slipped and fell, and who would she run into but Jiang Ji? Seeing the bag of fish he was carrying, she decided she was going to his place to eat. After going inside, the girl couldn't help but get curious and started looking around. Hearing Jiang Ji's phone ringing off the hook, Li Nai followed the sound into the bedroom. At that moment, she almost saw the pictures inside the cabinet, but Jiang Ji suddenly called her out. After sitting down, 2 bowls of noodles were already prepared and placed neatly on the table. Staring at the bowl of snakehead fish noodles in front of her, Li Nai immediately took a taste, but she never expected that after eating it, she would be so moved that she started crying. She could say that this was the best snakehead fish noodles she had ever eaten. In this case, she had to admit that Jiang Ji's cooking skills were top-notch, and she wasn't worthy of competing with him. However, she was still determined that one day she would succeed in getting her master's knife back. After listening to these words, Jiang Ji, sitting across from her, started to show that he was ready and waiting for her to challenge him, welcoming her to test herself anytime. After this scene, Li Nai immediately ran outside, called someone crying, and collapsed, wondering why Jiang Ji's snakehead fish noodles were so delicious. The next morning, Li Nai was dozing at the table when her dad's unpacking of deliveries woke her up with all the noise. Her phone was also constantly notifying her of her account balance being deducted, and when she looked, she was stunned. It turned out her dad had ordered a whole bunch of electronic gadgets and random stuff, making the house a complete mess. Then, she had to clean up and go out to take out the trash all by herself. Right at the trash cans, Li Nai found a flyer advertising a job with easy work and high pay, and a new idea immediately popped in her head. After making up her mind, Li Nai went straight to apply to be a kitchen assistant at Jiang Ji's restaurant. Although her skills were still new and she didn't have much experience, she still passed the final interview. However, Li Nai was only hired as a stockroom manager. Even though she wasn't doing her actual job from the start, Li Nai still had to try her best at it, hoping to weasel her way into a position in the kitchen. Unexpectedly, while she was diligently working in the stockroom, Jiang Ji accidentally walked in, startling her and making her fall from up high, but he quickly came to catch her right away. Li Nai fell directly into Jiang Ji's arms. She quickly stood up and started complaining about him scaring her. But for some reason, this time he took the blame himself, handing her a bottle of water while explaining. After going outside, Jiang Ji suddenly received a notice, learning that he was undergoing an inspection from the Food Association along with the restaurant Zhao Yi. He was still confident that his restaurant would win. Today was the first day the trainees were preparing staff lunch, and the first person was Songdu. However, he made the excuse that he hadn't thought of a dish yet. So he went to Li Nai to switch places, and she happily agreed. After changing into a chef's uniform, Li Nai happily announced that she would be in charge of lunch today, then busily prepared the ingredients and cooked. Although Jiang Ji was busy cooking nearby, his eyes were always on the flustered girl in front of him. Finally, it was lunchtime, and Li Nai happily brought out the food she had prepared for everyone to enjoy, hoping that everyone would praise her wontons. However, everyone's reaction was completely different from what she imagined. Songdu said that the flavor was still a bit bland, so she hurried back into the kitchen to get more salt. And Jiang Ji, after just trying one bite, immediately frowned, pointing out Li Nai's mistake in front of everyone. At the same time, he also talked about Shi Soming's failure, making Li Nai extremely uncomfortable. Because of that, Li Nai directly took off her uniform and prepared to resign. But unexpectedly, Jiang Ji pulled her back, reminding her that she owed him a meal and demanding that she treat him again tonight. Then, the two of them went to a high-end restaurant to eat. It turned out this was the Zhao Yi restaurant, a restaurant with a sky-high reputation and incredibly expensive prices. Jiang Ji even specially ordered the chef special, making Li Nai shocked and accepting that she had to deal with him further. Jiang Ji also spoke frankly, saying that the real reason he let her be a stockroom manager was because her sense of smell was very sharp. She could easily distinguish the peppercorns in the test, so she was given special permission to work in this position. The two of them finished eating and went straight outside. Li Nai was returning alone when she suddenly ran into Zhao Jing, the owner of the Zhao Yi restaurant. After sitting down, Zhao Jing directly stated her purpose, that she wanted to invite Li Nai to work at her restaurant. That would both help Li Nai get revenge and get Chef Xi's knife back, help Zhao Jing's restaurant with advertising, and also put some pressure on Jiang Ji. However, Li Nai thought this wasn't honorable at all, and also stated that she would get her master's knife back herself, without relying on any other forces. Just as Li Nai was leaving with the business card, she remembered what Jiang Ji had told her back in the restaurant. She suddenly had an idea and wanted to tell him right away. But unexpectedly, it started pouring rain, and because she didn't have an umbrella, she had to run outside with a bag over her head. By chance, Li Nai ran into Jiang Ji, who was coming with an umbrella, and they bumped into each other. Li Nai also brought up the fact that the five-star chef had approached her. This time, Jiang Ji was particularly attentive to Li Nai, deliberately preparing ginger and red date tea to prevent a cold. The next day, Jiang Ji took Li Nai out, planning to buy 10-year-old Xinhui dried tangerine peel from an old man. Even the customers nearby were fighting to buy it. Feeling like he couldn't make a decision, the old man opened the container, which was filled with different jars of dried tangerine peel, and only one jar was what they wanted. Then, old Chun, who was standing nearby, lost to Li Nai's sharp nose. The old Chun accepted and took them back to cook them a meal. This dish of his was incredibly fresh and flavorful. It could be said that Zhao Jing's dish was far inferior to his. That evening at home, Li Nai learned from Cui that Hai Yang had deliberately avoided Jiang Ji, not wanting to compete with him, so he passed the head chef position to his daughter, Zhao Jing. Li Nai's heart was filled with suspicion. Jiang Ji arrived at the meeting point and also met Zhao Jing. Despite everyone's warm welcome, he still maintained his cold and indifferent demeanor, showing no interest. Right after Mr. Jin arrived on the scene, everyone began to greet each other politely and also told stories about the most outstanding chefs in Bichuan. Taking advantage of the opportunity, everyone also wanted Zhao Jing to show off her cooking skills as a treat. Hearing that the other person was really looking forward to her dish, Zhao Jing immediately got ready, running into the kitchen by herself to demonstrate her skills. While she was preparing the second dish, Jiang Ji couldn't stand it anymore and stood up to go outside, finding an opportunity to talk to her. He talked about how the two of them could use abalone as the main ingredient and compete against each other, just looking at cooking skills. But Zhao Jing had no intention of doing that, because she was confident that she had the advantage and wouldn't easily lose. But unexpectedly, Jiang Ji told her about how her father, Hai Yang, had deliberately thrown the knife-claiming competition in the past. After hearing this truth, Zhao Jing was completely stunned and shocked. Then, without hesitation, she flew straight to her father's shop to try his braised abalone with pork. She began to question why he had deliberately lost to her, thinking about how she and her mother were sent abroad without any care. Zhao Jing was in pain. After going outside again, she called her assistant, announcing that she wanted to take Jiang Ji's knife. Returning, Zhao Jing began to hand over work to the chef beside her for the days she would be concentrating on researching a new dish. This time, she would be ready to face the competition seriously and went home to prepare the dish. The chef standing beside her was a bit confused, wondering why she changed her mind and wanted to take Jiang Ji's knife when the restaurant already had a 60% chance of winning the inspection. Even so, she still prepared meticulously to win the next round, making everyone impressed. Jiang Ji went to the market to buy abalone to prepare for his new dish. However, the owners there all refused to sell to him out of respect for Chef Hai Yang. So, Jiang Ji had to get in the car and go to another city to get the ingredients. While on the road, he received a call from Li Nai. She came to give him the set of knives that had just been serviced and 2 bottles of wine. But Jiang Ji directly asked her to enter the password and go inside to put the things away. However, no sooner had he spoken than he suddenly realized something about his cabinet. So the young man immediately turned the car around and headed back. Just as he opened the door, he saw Li Nai standing there waiting, talking about some truth. It turned out she had just discovered that he had used a fake account to post praise, leading to her shop being closed and forcing her to work at his Chuncheng restaurant. Li Nai was extremely dissatisfied, but she also took this opportunity to negotiate with Jiang Ji. Knowing that Jiang Ji couldn't buy abalone in Bichuan right now, she volunteered to be used to gather top-quality abalone for him from elsewhere, on the condition that he agreed to let her be his assistant during the competition and cook the main dish later. Jiang Ji agreed if she could bring the abalone back before dark. Then, Li Nai asked Chui can go buy abalone with her. Jiang Ji heard that it was pouring rain in the next city and couldn't help but worry about her, accidentally cutting his hand with a knife. Right after that, Li Nai returned, saw the small wound, and immediately helped him bandage it. Then, the two of them started working on researching the new dish in the kitchen. Even though they had cooked many different abalone dishes, in the end, the two of them still couldn't find the flavor they wanted. Suddenly, Li Nai had a new idea, and the two of them immediately got back to work. The abalone combined with passion fruit made the flavor seem even better than the dish Zhao Jing made. Unexpectedly, as soon as the result came out, Jiang Ji looked like he was about to collapse, his limbs going numb. Li Nai quickly helped him sit down on the sofa to rest. Looking at the calluses on his hands, she suddenly understood all the hardship and effort Jiang Ji had put in. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. The chefs from both sides were ready, and the competition began. Zhao Jing stuck to her usual way of making the dish, but the style and flavor had been upgraded to another level. As for Jiang Ji, he and Li Nai, after 3 days of hard work researching, had prepared the abalone, making it a dish fit for a fairyland. Smoke billowed out from the dry ice, and the green dipping sauce they created was also very special. After 2 hours, both dishes were ready. One side was the smoke and fire of the mortal world, the other was the ethereal energy of the heavens. So how would the judges choose? The score was currently tied, and the final judge hesitated, but in the end, he voted for Jiang Ji. The audience stood up and cheered enthusiastically, and Li Nai was so happy that she hugged Jiang Ji, surprising him a little, but in a good way. Zhao Jing was completely convinced by her defeat this time. She sincerely gave her chef's knife to Jiang Ji, although she still felt a little uneasy inside. The chef ran out after Hai Yang, wondering why he didn't tell Zhao Jing the truth about what happened years ago. But the father felt that telling her wouldn't solve anything. The truth was that in the past, Hai Yang sent Zhao Jing and her mother abroad because his wife didn't want to take over Zhao Yi, and he was the one who had to take on that responsibility. And his daughter didn't need to know about these sacrifices. Unexpectedly, Zhao Jing came out at this moment and heard everything, not understanding why her father always liked to act so righteous. The chef beside her couldn't stand the father and daughter misunderstanding each other, so he tried to speak up for Hai Yang. After Zhao Jing knew everything her father had done for her, it was still hard for her to let go of the resentment she had held for so many years. Li Nai happened to see all of this, feeling that Zhao Jing's defeat this time might not be a bad thing after all. But Jiang Ji didn't care much about that because the thing they had to worry about next was passing the inspection in the Food Association's chef competition. In this situation, Li Nai hinted that she could participate in preparing the main dish of the banquet. Jiang Ji coldly said that he wasn't someone who just talked without keeping his word, making Li Nai very happy. She quickly crowded around, asking if she could volunteer to work overtime tonight if there was anything going on at the restaurant. The next morning, the banquet began. Song Du saw that Jiang Ji and Li Nai's relationship had suddenly become very good and had a bit of an attitude. Brother Zheng said that Su Kong was a person with a great reputation, so the Zhang family would definitely take this opportunity to talk to him. Ever since Su Kong entered the restaurant, many people had surrounded him, taking pictures and asking for advice. But Jiang Ji pulled Li Nai away quietly. Jiang Ji and Li Nai didn't care what the purpose of this banquet was. He wanted to take Li Nai away, but Su Yang said that Jiang Xiao, his younger sister, had returned, and not only that, she would become the head chef of the Jiangyu restaurant. Jiang Ji was a little surprised. Beside him, Li Nai answered the phone, stunned, hearing that her father had gone missing, and immediately ran off. Jiang Ji, standing nearby, also ignored everything and drove to help Li Nai find him. Li Nai was worried and anxious, not knowing where her father could have gone. When she calmed down, she felt that he might have returned to the orphanage. She was very worried when she saw her father up in a tall tree. Luckily, Jiang Ji arrived just in time and climbed up, managing to grab Ji Dong in time and successfully rescuing him. Li Nai was extremely grateful for Jiang Ji's help today, running to help him dry his hair. It turned out that she did all this because she wanted to ask for a day off tomorrow to take her father to the zoo, and she also gave him a ticket, inviting him to come along. Although Jiang Ji's mouth was very stubborn, his hand was very honest in taking the ticket. On the other hand, Su Yang's father, as soon as he returned, heard that the head chef position had been snatched away by Jiang Xiao, and he was furious, not knowing where to vent his anger. Just then, Jiang Xiao was also there and heard, so she mocked him, making him even angrier. The next day was a beautiful day. Li Nai took her father to the zoo to play, and unexpectedly, Jiang Ji also came. The three of them had a very enthusiastic and happy time. The relationship between Jiang Ji and Li Nai also secretly became closer. Jiang Ji saw Li Nai's happy face and secretly took a few pictures. Who knew that Ji Dong would notice, but in the end, he didn't expose him. Jiang Ji saw how overly intimate the relationship between Shui, Kan, and Li Nai was, and his face suddenly showed a bit of jealousy. Right after that, Ji Dong said he wanted to go to the bathroom, but no sooner had he spoken than he couldn't hold it anymore and wet himself. This caused everyone around to take pictures and laugh. Jiang Ji didn't care about that, immediately taking off his jacket to cover him, then letting Li Nai and Shui can take fatherly away, while he stayed behind to clean up the scene. After this, he fell seriously ill. Brother Zheng, the sous chef, came to take care of him and teased him, also sidling up to ask if Jiang Ji had fallen for Li Nai. But he wouldn't admit his feelings at all, not on your life. Looking at Li Nai's picture, he suddenly realized that he had changed a little. Jiang Ji was about to go to the hospital when he happened to run into Li Nai. She immediately offered to drive him, and she took care of him very seriously, even following her father's theory of hitting an egg on his head and saying that doing so would make him get well soon. This made Jiang Ji think of the scene when they were children. Grandpa Jiang was very angry because his granddaughter Jiang Xiao still hadn't reported to Jiang Yu to take up her position. Seeing how Grandpa favored girls over boys, her brother Su Yang felt very uncomfortable. Jiang Ji watched Li Nai eat the egg very seriously, then asked her why she always mentioned Shui, and every time she opened her mouth. Didn't she have any other friends? Li Nai thought about this, and it was true that she hadn't contacted her other friends from university in a long time because her father was sick. At this moment, Jiang Ji hesitantly asked who her best friend was when she was 5 years old. Li Nai felt that it was too long ago, so she couldn't remember. Jiang Ji suddenly became upset, making her leave. But Li Nai didn't ignore him because of that. That night, when it was pouring rain, she quickly bought an umbrella and got medicine for him. Jiang Ji was very happy. After that, Li Nai went to the market. By chance, she met Jiang Xiao buying mangoes. Li Nai went straight over and said that this mango was bad. The owner thought she was there to cause trouble, but who knew that the mango was actually bad. Jiang Xiao chased after her, wondering how she could tell if a mango was fresh, and then they also introduced themselves. The very next day, Li Nai went to work. She was specifically requested by a customer by name to be the assistant in preparing the main dish. At this time, the manager refused this request, but Jiang Xiao still deliberately sought out Li Nai and wanted her to prepare the dish for her. Li Nai couldn't refuse and quickly got to work preparing the dish. Jiang Xiao was very happy to eat her food, but just as they were whispering, Jiang Xiao fainted. Just then, Jiang Ji came by. He noticed and immediately took her to the hospital. At this time, Li Nai was a little panicked. She had never thought that things would get so serious. Jiang Ji knew Jiang Xiao was deliberately doing this. She intentionally wanted to test her brother to see if Li Nai was his girlfriend. Jiang Ji deliberately said no, so that his sister wouldn't do anything pointless anymore. Jiang Xiao told her brother that she was very sad that he had rejected her like this, but he ignored her and left. Jiang Ji returned to the kitchen and saw Li Nai trying to apologize. He scolded her for acting recklessly and docked her pay for half a month. On the way back, Jiang Xiao suddenly appeared and challenged Li Nai. The two competed to see whose sense of smell was sharper by blindfolding themselves for 10 minutes and seeing who could buy the most items containing eggs. Li Nai lost at her own specialty. Jiang Xiao took this opportunity to mock Li Nai's cooking skills in front of everyone. Li Nai was also very angry with herself because her cooking skills were far inferior to Jiang Ji's, and now the sense of smell she was always proud of was also defeated by his sister. Cui can told Li Nai that Jiang Ji was the son of Yuan Shan, who was also the second son of the Jiang family. But after an unofficial knife-claiming competition, Yuan Shan and his wife and children were kicked out of the family. After that, Jiang Ji was sent to an orphanage because they thought he was mediocre, while Jiang Xiao had a natural talent from a young age, so she was brought back to be nurtured. But Li Nai felt that Jiang Ji was the real genius. How could they say he was a person of ordinary ability? At this moment, she understood that the reason Jiang Ji went to claim the knife was to prove that he was not ordinary. After that, Cui can clean up the box, picked up the rusty knife with something engraved on it, and immediately left in a hurry. From then on, Li Nai practiced very hard to improve her sense of smell. One day, the owner of the Yuan Ji shop called Jiang Ji to tell him that from now on, they would no longer supply smoked ham hocks. Li Nai saw the message and, following the owner's instructions, went out to order ham hocks herself. But the attitudes of the owners were all very strange. Not a single one wanted to sell smoked ham hocks to her. And Li Nai was very curious about the reason. Su Yang knew that all of this was done by Jiang Xiao just to get the attention of her brother, Jiang Ji, so he tried to persuade his sister not to do these things anymore, and also persuaded her to return to Jiang Yu to work. Jiang Xiao knew that Su Yang came to find her because of their grandfather, so she left without caring anymore. This afternoon, when everyone was preparing for charity work at the city orphanage, Li Nai was assigned to buy smoked meat at the Taoji shop. But as soon as the owner found out she was from Chuncheon, he immediately kicked her out. So, she had no other choice but to go find another shop with similar quality. But someone had discovered this conversation and secretly recorded a video. When at the orphanage, Li Nai accidentally saw a picture of Jiangji when he was young, and then she suddenly realized that he might be her close friend. Jiangji looked at the scene and remembered the past. At that time, he was suspected of stealing candy, and it was Li Nai who helped him escape suspicion. Jiangji always had a very good impression of Li Nai. When she came out and saw Jiangji, he seemed to be glowing, especially overflowing with a strange feeling. Seeing Brother Zheng make her ride in the same car as Jiangji, she was desperate, only able to face it and deliberately avoid his conversation. The next day, trouble struck again. It turned out that after lunch was delivered to the welfare center, the children suffered food poisoning after eating it. This news quickly spread widely on the internet and TV. Li Nai was surrounded by reporters questioning her about buying the ingredients. She was really scared. Just as Jiangji returned to the kitchen, he kept reminding everyone not to talk to the media, press, or anyone else during this time. He was also very concerned about Li Nai's situation, trusted her, and felt that the video online was edited and manipulated by someone else. On the other side, Li Nai couldn't avoid the crowd surrounding and cursing her. Faced with their sharp questions, she was stunned and couldn't fight back. Luckily, Jiangji immediately came to her side to protect her and also prepared a car for her to return home to deal with the problem first. Jiangji also assured the media that he would definitely provide a clear explanation for this matter. Back home, Li Nai tried to act like she was fine. Then, Chuiken took out the kitchen knife, which had the character Li and 5 stars engraved on it. This raised suspicion for the two young people that their family might belong to one of the 7 great families of Bichuan. The two quickly went to find Ji Dong to ask. After confirming it was indeed true, Li Nai had lived for over 20 years before learning the truth about her background. On the other side, Jiangji continued to deal with the food poisoning incident. After receiving the report results, it was concluded that there were no problems with hygiene and facilities, so the source came from the food. Suddenly, Jiang Xiu appeared. Seeing this, Jiangji directly told his sister to withdraw from Jiangyu. Jiang Xiu didn't listen, because only then could she help her brother fulfill his wish. On the other side, Li Nai was playing with the children. Then, at the playground, she ran into Jiangji. Li Nai immediately asked about the food poisoning, knowing that it was her fault, but Jiangji insisted that it wasn't her fault and that he would handle the problem behind it alone. It sounded very romantic, but Li Nai thought it was a cold attitude, wanting to cut her off. After that, she called Chuiken, saying that Chuncheon wouldn't accept her anymore anyway, and now that they had a 5-star knife in their hands, why not open a completely new shop? Chuiken heard this and immediately supported her, saying that if she dared to do it, he would also go along and cooperate. After that, they quickly went to look for a place to rent, but the rent everywhere was extremely expensive. After searching for a while, they decided to go outside to rest and have some drinks. And just at this moment, Li Nai ran into Brother Zheng and Lu Ping having a private meeting. Because she was suspicious, she immediately took a picture and saved it on her phone. Just as Jiangji went to Haiyang Seafood Shop to meet Zhao Jing, he finally found the actual culprit, which is Lu Ping. He found out that suspending Li Nai this time, that is his way to protect her. After returning, Jiangji ran into the kitchen and met Feng Xing. To help clear Li Nai's name, he was willing to ask Feng Xing to arrange a meeting with Lu Ping's group, directly opening a roundtable discussion to confront each other. Because she didn't know the real situation, the next day, Li Nai and Chuiken went to follow Feng Xing's every move. Seeing the person get into a taxi, she directly asked Chuiken to chase after him. She herself quickly wanted to call a car to chase along, but she suddenly received a call from someone. On this side, Chuiken chased to another restaurant. By chance, he saw the beautiful and wonderful Jiang Xiu and was mesmerized, chasing after her. Then, these two were immediately caught red-handed by Feng Xing, but at this moment, they suddenly realized that Li Nai had disappeared. On the other side, Jiangji had directly arranged a meeting with the others. After everyone had arrived, he sat down at the table and apologized for what he had done. However, he did not regret any of his actions at all. Then, Jiangji invited Mr. Chow to testify for Li Nai that she had bought smoked ham hocks from him, and he was the ex-husband of Mrs. Tao, so it was definitely the real deal with a clear origin. With all the different evidence, they cannot deny anymore. They must admit what they had done and set Li Nai free from his problem. Meanwhile, Li Nai had arrived at the Chuncheon kitchen. It turned out that the person who called her was Song. He said that he had some clues about the spy hiding in the restaurant. Li Nai pretended not to know to let him talk, and finally, she exposed Song Du's true face. Because from the moment she heard this phone call, she had recognized the other person's plot. She just wondered one thing: why did he admire Jiangji so much? How could he do such a wicked thing? The only reason was that although Song Du really wanted to do many things for Jiangji, he was always rejected by him, never paid attention to. Looking at Li Nai, a stockroom manager, being able to be close and get to cook the main dish made him even more uncomfortable and angry, determined to destroy both of them. At this moment, Jiang Ji continued to drive back, desperately calling Li Nai, but no one answered, which made him extremely worried. Back in the kitchen, Song Du laughed loudly and spoke directly about his evil deeds. According to him, what he did was only a small matter, but he could receive a large sum of money. Hearing such words disregarding the lives of others, Li Nai's heart felt like it was about to explode. She began to denounce him for what he had done, but Song Du still showed no remorse and even wanted to burn down the Chun Chung kitchen. But Li Nai didn't lose her composure. She quickly grabbed a jar of chili powder and threw it at Song Du, scaring him and making him drop the blowtorch. The two rushed in and wrestled with each other. Luckily, before anything worse could happen, Jiang Ji returned just in time, and Li Nai quickly took Jiang Ji's hand and ran away. After running for a while, confirming that the situation was safe, the two stopped to catch their breath. Jiang Ji was saved, but wasn't grateful, instead hinting that Li Nai's style was to run away if she couldn't win a fight. Naturally, these words made her a little angry, saying that after all, she had just saved him. And at this moment, she told Jiang Ji that she had remembered him. Just now, Jiang Ji had returned. He was almost exhausted. Fang Xing heard that it was Li Nai who had saved him from danger and burst out laughing. Just as he mentioned it, Jiang Ji immediately interrupted and changed the subject. At the same time, he also called assistant Zhu how to ask about the kitchen problem. This time, he also deliberately explained that Li Nai would be allowed to return to work with the other staff. If she didn't come, it would be deducted directly from her salary this month. After Lu Ping found out what Jiang Ji had done, the first thing he did was go to Grandpa Jiang to complain. But now Grandpa also knew that times were not like the old days, and he also began to admire these young people. Lu Ping couldn't do anything anymore and slunk away. Su Yang remembered what happened when he was young and immediately called Zhu Hao, urging her to quickly let Jiang Ji go claim the next knife. Otherwise, his pawn would become useless. Right after that, the two saw each other out. Just as Jiang Xiu returned, she recognized this as the person who was causing trouble for her brother and became angry, taking him for a spin through the gates of hell and finally threatening him one last time. On the other hand, Li Nai had found a location to open a new shop. She and Shui came to check the premises and were very pleased. But unexpectedly, Jiang Ji suddenly called her back, informing her that from tomorrow, she should go to work as usual. Although Li Nai didn't want to agree at all, she had no other choice but to listen to her boss. During the group meeting to plan a collective picnic, Jiang Ji saw that Li Nai didn't seem enthusiastic about this trip and tried every way to force her to go. The next day, Li Nai wanted to call in sick to escape, but unexpectedly, Brother Zheng and Jiang Ji, along with everyone else, were already present and waiting in the car to pick her up. When the outdoor activity officially began, Jiang Xiu and Shui were already there, which stunned both Li Nai and Jiang Ji. All of them sat down to hear the rules and choose characters. Jiang Ji, because he didn't want to take on a role with a love story, agreed to switch to the role of a mute person, partnering with Li Nai. Just as he stood up to return to the room, Jiang Xiu suddenly stopped everyone, inviting them all to participate in a game to get to know each other and increase solidarity. It turned out that the game she proposed was the finger-bending game. Whoever didn't have something, that person had to bend a finger. When all 5 fingers were bent, they lost, and the loser would have to switch scripts with the winner. Near the end, Li Nai asked if anyone present had someone they liked at the scene, they should bend a finger. Jiang Ji was the first to bend a finger, but he hid his feelings, then used his last finger to point at the clock and told everyone to go back and change. Jiang Xiu sat curiously, wanting to know what role Li Nai was playing, but the other person refused to answer. When the game began, Li Nai wore a beautiful period costume, preparing to meet with the other players. When she went to the corridor, she said the code to identify people on the same side and discovered that the other person was Jiang Ji. Su Yang's father ate the dishes that the chef had painstakingly prepared, but his face still wrinkled up because the dishes they made were far inferior to the dishes Jiang Xiu cooked. At this moment, his mind reminded his son to be careful, otherwise both of them would be kicked out of this house. Just as Li Nai and Jiang Ji met, they exchanged information to find the ultimate truth. Then Jiang Xiu ran over, interrupting the conversation, saying a few words that made Li Nai leave. Then, she seriously asked her brother if he liked Li Nai. But Jiang Ji still couldn't express his feelings. He made an excuse to slip away to avoid answering. In the evening, Jiang Ji took advantage of a situation when no one was around to secretly take the earrings and run to Li Nai to give them to her, saying that it was a mission. Then he didn't hesitate to put the earrings on her, his heart pounding. It seemed like Li Nai was also a little embarrassed. Before leaving, he didn't forget to use his status to say goodnight to his crush. The two quickly said goodbye. Suddenly, the phone rang, indicating that it was 9 o'clock, the time to call Li Nai's father. Then she slammed the door shut and did her private task. The plot of the story changed again. Early the next morning, as soon as they woke up, they heard that the master of the Yu family had been assassinated. It was directly stated that the murderer was one of the people here. Jiang Ji observed carefully and examined the body, and also followed the butler's instructions, asking everyone to sit down and recount their activities. Jiang Ji said that last night he went for a walk in the garden to clear his head for a long time, but he couldn't remember the exact time. Li Nai, sitting beside him, immediately helped him provide an alibi, also mentioning that last night he had come to give her these earrings. Everyone looked at the evidence and the witness and immediately believed it. After that, everyone also stated their own alibis, and therefore, to find the culprit, they decided to split into pairs and go out to look for more clues. And after going outside, Li Nai and Jiang Ji continued to form a pair to search. There, she said that now the two of them were on the same side, so she would try her best to protect them. After walking around for a while, Li Nai noticed that Jiang Ji was still confused about left and right. She began to think back to her childhood memories at the orphanage. Then she guaranteed that they would definitely win this game because she was here. The two supported each other, then successfully found a secret passage in the basement. As soon as they went down there, they discovered a torn-up letter, the content of which was unexpectedly the plot. And unexpectedly, this content was 99% similar to the story of the Jiang family. Jiang Ji was now certain that someone really wanted to target him. Just as he realized this, someone came and hid the ladder and also sealed off the basement passage. Even the phone that Jiang Ji secretly brought had run out of battery. This time, they could only wait for someone to come and rescue them. Because in this basement, the game design included jars of pickled vegetables, and during the pickling process, some substances are released that make people feel tired and weak if they inhale too much. Therefore, Li Nai quickly became exhausted. Jiang Xiao, on the other side, realized that her brother had been missing for too long and rushed to find him. Suddenly, she ran into her uncle and guessed his intentions. Without many words, Jiang Xiao immediately put a bag over his head and dragged him back for questioning, demanding that he reveal Jiang Ji's location. And fearing the baseball bat, Yuan Feng had to be honest. After that, she immediately ran to find her brother. And in the basement, Li Nai was panting heavily, the oxygen level in her blood getting lower and lower. Jiang Ji tried to wake her up, but to no avail. He could only ignore everything and kiss her on the lips to transfer oxygen. The next day, Li Nai finally woke up. She looked around and saw that she was lying in a hospital bed, and the person in the bed next to her was Jiang Ji. Seeing this cute sleeping face, she smiled sweetly. Outside, Chui Can brought Ji Dong to visit Li Nai. But unexpectedly, as soon as he saw the pomelo, he wanted it. Chui Can had to pull out his phone and beg the nurse to sell it to him. After that, he ran into the hospital room, saw Li Nai and Jiang Ji holding hands and looking into each other's eyes, and felt embarrassed and wanted to run, but it was too late. Li Nai caught him and questioned him. She was about to teach this friend a lesson when her father appeared, splashing water with the magic words "bad luck, fly away." Li Nai angrily grabbed the pomelo branch and splashed water at Chui Can, but he dodged in time, and the person who received those holy drops of water was Jiang Ji. After being discharged from the hospital, Li Nai was scolding Chui Can for making her offend her boss, worrying that she would lose her job. But if things are difficult, just go home to the Li family's head chef, little one. As soon as these words were spoken, Li Nai immediately shushed him, afraid that Jiang Ji, who was walking behind, would find out. Next, they prepared to go home, but unexpectedly, Jiang Ji came over and said he wanted to visit her house to see the fish he had given her last time. They had finished preparing and were about to get in the car with the Li family. Then Jiang Ji noticed Li Nai's rejecting gaze, so he had to make an excuse and said that he would come another time. Right after that, Jiang Ji went to find Su Yang to talk about something, and not long after, he said goodbye. As soon as he left, Zhu Hao immediately got into the car. After hearing Su Yang complain, she admitted that she had revealed Jiang Ji's situation to his father. He was a little angry and also demanded that from now on, she only listened to his commands alone. Others, even his father, were not allowed. After that, he also didn't forget to comfort Zhu Hao, telling her to leave first and also to keep an eye on the other person. Jiang Xiao returned home to eat dinner. She deliberately brought up what her uncle had done in a roundabout way, also telling her grandfather that Su Yang had dated a girl that he would never have expected. They were a little sweaty when they heard this, and then she swaggered off to Jiang Yu to be a puppet head chef. But today, the other chefs had looked down on her too much, making her angry. The sous chef directly treated her like a bodhisattva to be worshipped, because he thought she couldn't cause any trouble. After going outside again, Jiang Xiao started playing by herself with a terrible mood. By chance, Chui Can also came there and met her. He felt her boredom and frustration and spent the whole evening with her to relieve her worries and sadness. After that, the two of them had fun and wished each other good night. And ever since the group picnic last time, Linai had behaved differently towards Jiangji, always deliberately avoiding him whenever possible. This made Jiangji start to feel scared and even more eager to find an opportunity to talk to her. He ordered Linai to deliver deer velvet to his house, but all he got was a delivery shipper. Early in the morning, Jiang Xiu happily ran to cook breakfast for her brother. Here, Jiangji once again asked his sister to withdraw from Jiangyu, and also explained his plan again, saying that everything he did was to make the other party pay back everything they owed. But Jiang Xiu still wouldn't listen, because her brother's opponent could only be her, and she had no intention of leaving Jiangyu. Linai was working in the stockroom when Jiangji suddenly came in and blocked her way. He wanted to talk about what happened when they were in the basement that day. Suddenly, Linai's phone rang. On the other end was Ji Dong. It seemed that his illness had relapsed, so Linai immediately ran away. Chuiken spent the whole day outside the Jiangyu restaurant waiting for Jiang Xiu, but now she was determined to deal with all the chefs who looked down on her, so she didn't have free time to go out and play. She worked overtime until late at night. Unexpectedly, as soon as her shift ended, her stomach hurt terribly. Luckily, Chuiken hadn't left yet, and he went straight in to find her. Seeing Jiang Xiu's critical condition, he immediately picked her up and carried her home quickly. At night, Jiang Ji came to Linai's house, using the excuse of wanting to visit the fish to have a chance to talk to her. After the fish tank was installed, Jiang Ji directly asked her if she was still conscious that day in the basement. Linai was stunned when she heard this. She really wanted to dig a hole to hide in, but unfortunately, she couldn't. That day in the basement, because of the effect of the pickled vegetables, the oxygen concentration decreased, making both Linai and Jiangji not very clear-headed. And Jiangji didn't hesitate to place a kiss on her lips, making both of them extremely awkward for a while afterwards. But Jiangji didn't want Linai to be so embarrassed, so he spoke first, trying to explain that it was because of his circumstances, not because he wanted to. At that time, he saw Linai's embarrassed look and thought that she had some feelings for him, who knew that she would directly treat it like being bitten by a dog. As soon as she said that, Linai knew she had misspoken and tried to correct herself, but Jiangji was ready to end it right there. He told her that she didn't need to keep avoiding him in the kitchen anymore. Jiang Xiu was alone in her room. She kept staring at the text messages she and Cui had sent each other and was very happy. She had long felt a liking for Cui, holding the white helmet he had given her, with the words, "I like you" on the visor. She kept smiling all day. The next day, Linai confidently went into the kitchen to work. She also felt much more comfortable because the misunderstandings had been resolved. After that, Linai returned to her restaurant to open the shop, but not a single person was willing to enter. They still weren't discouraged and continued to try hard to hand out flyers. However, several days had passed, and the Sunset restaurant that Linai opened still hadn't had its first customer. It was difficult, but Linai wasn't discouraged at all. She still used the most positive attitude to encourage Cui Can. After finishing work today, she went to the Chuncheng restaurant to look around and reflect. At this time, Jiangji was still there. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Linai asked the head chef about his experience in opening this famous restaurant. Unexpectedly, in the beginning, Jiangji was in the same situation as Linai, also trying his best to find ways to attract customers, researching dishes, and a whole series of other things. Seeing that Linai seemed to want to learn, he immediately demanded tuition. The girl knew how to invest, immediately transferring 1,000 yuan to him to buy a little experience. After that, the two began to get to the main topic. Linai changed into her uniform, collaborating with Jiangji to complete the dishes from these ingredients. After listening to his teaching, she knew that opening a restaurant in this place wasn't easy because Bichuan wasn't lacking in good chefs, but lacking in unique creativity to attract customers. The lesson started late at night and ended early in the morning. Linai was really too sleepy, but before she could have a good dream, she was woken up and told to follow Jiangji outside the city for a picnic. Linai felt like she was being exploited. This boss was too much. On the other side, Chuiken was called by Jiang Xiu to hang out. As soon as he saw his crush, he was concerned about her health. Seeing that she was safe and healthy, he asked about the helmet he had given her the other day. Although she liked it a lot, Jiang Xiu didn't dare to wear it because she was afraid that it would reveal her feelings. Jiangji, standing nearby, invited Cui to hang out. He would have loved to, but he had to refuse because Linai had previously assigned him the task of watching the shop. He promised to meet her next time, but Jiang Xiu angrily drove off on her motorcycle. On the other side, Linai was preparing to set up the tent and make food. However, they didn't have any ingredients at all, so both of them got ready to go down to the stream to catch fish. They couldn't spear any fish, so Jiangji made an excuse to lure Linai elsewhere. Then he snuck over to the car and took out a fishing rod. In the evening, he seriously made grilled fish for Li Nai. The two ate very heartily until the rain suddenly came down. A moment later, strong winds plus torrential rain caused Li Nai's tent to collapse. Jiang Ji, sitting nearby, quickly suggested that she could sleep in the car. However, his car ran out of gas right at that moment, and Li Nai could only return disappointedly. It turned out that this was Jiang Ji's plan. He had known that it would definitely rain tonight, so he deliberately set up Li Nai's tent loosely so that it would easily collapse at any time, and he also didn't fill up the car with gas to force her into the last resort of sleeping in the same tent with him. Indeed, just as planned, Li Nai had hesitantly asked Jiang Ji to let her sleep over, and he smiled inwardly and agreed immediately. Night fell completely. In the tent was a single man and a single woman sleeping together. Because they were afraid of touching each other, they deliberately lay on their sides and kept a certain distance. Li Nai quietly waited until exactly 12 midnight and suddenly turned over and shouted, "Happy New Year!" Then she turned back over and fell asleep. Jiang Xiao, on the other side, was bored with playing, so at night she went to find Shui to hang out. They brought out alcohol and drank heavily until they were drunk. Shuiken woke up after passing out from the alcohol. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Jiang Xiao was still there. She was so drunk she didn't know what was going on. Shuiken advised her to go home, but Jiang Xiao insisted on not wanting to, directly pulling him into her arms and asking if he liked her. The boy just nodded, and she gave him a passionate kiss, making the young man both surprised and happy. After a night of heavy rain, the next day the weather was clear again. Jiang Ji and Li Nai took turns getting out of the tent and packing up, preparing to go home. Jiang Ji suddenly opened his bag and took out a beautiful bouquet of flowers to give to Li Nai without saying a word. This surprised her, and she was happy to receive the flowers. After returning, Li Nai continued to go to her restaurant to open for business. Just as the shop was about to close, a mother and child came in and asked if she cooked Western food. Seeing that the other restaurants were closed, Li Nai kindly welcomed them in and prepared food for them. Although not entirely Western dishes, her dishes were culinary masterpieces, combining Western and Eastern styles. After tasting them, the two immediately praised her. Seeing that warm scene, Li Nai also felt warm inside. Then she ran to Chun Chung. Seeing Jiang Ji, she expressed her extremely happy feelings. Just then, a new shipment of food arrived, and he invited her to try the new ingredients. They quickly finished eating everything, and Li Nai deliberately left the big crab for Jiang Ji. He was stunned when he saw her action. When he came to, he took the initiative to take a bite. Then he also wanted to help her wipe her mouth, but in this ambiguous atmosphere, he pulled his hand back and gave her a thumbs up. Li Nai ate too much and got the hiccups. This atmosphere was suddenly broken, and she immediately ran into his room to get some wine. Who knew that as soon as she stepped inside, Li Nai saw the pictures showing Jiang Ji's plan. At that moment, she suddenly remembered that her master had just had his knife taken less than 2 months ago. A bit of resentment and discomfort appeared in her heart. Jiang Ji saw Li Nai resenting him. Not wanting her to misunderstand, he immediately took her back to old Shi's noodle shop, telling her about his childhood. At that time, his father died. When the two siblings were about to go to the orphanage, Jiang Ji knelt there in the pouring rain to beg him to take in his sister. However, that person, afraid of offending the Jiang family, coldly turned around and closed the door. So, after growing up, Jiang Ji only wanted to protect his own justice in the most reasonable and fair way, which was to claim a knife. Li Nai also understood his feelings, but she still vowed that one day she would take his knife and reclaim the kitchen knife from Master Shi. After that, Li Nai took a leave of absence to work at her own shop. Today, she went to find Zhao Jing to find leads on ingredients, because right now she was having trouble balancing income and expenses while the price of ingredients was high and the restaurant's menu prices were low. Zhao Jing gave her a tip, telling her to contact someone who could provide ingredients that were nearing their expiration date, but still maintained guaranteed quality. When that person arrived, Li Nai realized it was Su Yang. She suddenly remembered the relationship between him and Jiang Xiao, Jiang Ji's siblings. After tasting Li Nai's dishes, Su Yang suggested taking Li Nai personally to Jiang Yu to inspect the ingredients. But she couldn't have imagined that as soon as the car arrived, she would run into Jiang Ji. Because she didn't want him to find out that she had opened a restaurant on her own, she had to hide quickly, but his sharp eyes quickly spotted Li Nai lurking in the bushes. Because she was discovered, she unexpectedly fell and sprained her ankle. Jiang Ji immediately ran over, massaged, and sprayed pain reliever on her ankle, and also kindly took her home. The next day, he also bought breakfast and parked in front of her house to pick her up for work. The lunch shift had ended, and Jiang Ji was still waiting for Li Nai to take her home. Even Fang Xing misunderstood that Li Nai and Jiang Ji were together. That made her stunned and scared. Putting that aside, Li Nai returned and rushed to Jiang Yu to buy ingredients. She wasn't afraid of running into Jiang Xiao because she had mentally prepared herself. However, she was still afraid that Jiang Ji would find out, so she asked Su Yang to help her keep this a secret. Although Li Nai's shop had opened and had a certain number of customers and was ranked high on the charts, she was in the mood to celebrate because she was worried that Jiang Ji would find out. Chui came up with an idea. He went to find his sister, who was the director of the Chui Group, to ask her to hide the information of the business registrant. She was a good sister indeed. As soon as he spoke, his wish was granted. Right after that, Chui can receive a call from Jiang Xiao. She called him to get information about his and Li Nai's plan to open a shop. Although he was smitten by her beauty, he wouldn't betray his friends because of it. He swore he wouldn't say anything. Seeing Jiang Xiao so angry, he had no other choice. Then he gave her sweets and left. The next day, Li Nai was finishing work and preparing to go home when she was suddenly pulled back by her boss, who invited her to go home with him. Hearing those words, Li Nai was stunned, thinking, does he really like me? Prevention is better than cure. So she refused immediately, then turned and left. Just as she went outside, manager Zhu Hao called her into the car, talking about Song Ming's illness and hospitalization. Right after that, Li Nai and Chui quickly went to visit their master chef, telling him that they had opened a new restaurant together called Sunset Restaurant. They even personally invited the master to visit the shop so he could taste their dishes. Although after tasting the ribs, Master Song Ming still praised her skills nonstop. Li Nai cried nonstop at his words. She was very sad because his sense of taste had almost completely disappeared. It was clear that her ribs were salty, but he said they were sweet and sour ribs. Unable to bear it, Li Nai ran to the steps of the stairs and sat alone in the snow, snowflakes accumulating on her shoulders and hair. At this moment, Jiang Ji rushed over and used an umbrella to shield her, preparing to pull her inside. But Li Nai had no intention of that. She continued to talk to Jiang Ji about her past. The reason she agreed to be Song Ming's apprentice was because of his snakehead fish noodles. Just thinking about these things, she began to feel that she owed him too much, so Li Nai didn't hesitate to refuse him and left coldly. The next day, Jiang Ji arrived at the restaurant to prepare for work when he received a letter of challenge from the Li family. Fang Xing looked at it and immediately suspected that the person behind it might be Li Nai, but this time Jiang Ji immediately ruled out that possibility and was ready to face this matter seriously. Just as Li Nai returned to the small shop to continue discussing the knife claiming with Chui Can, she still didn't know where the opponent's weakness was, so she was a little worried. But no matter what, she would try her best to win against him. After that, Li Nai assigned Chui Can the task of going to Jiangyu today to get ingredients, who knew that as soon as he arrived at the door, he would run into Su Yang and Zhu Hao walking together and began to suspect the relationship between them. Su Yang got out of the car alone, deliberately sitting and waiting for President Chui, who was jogging in the park. He then asked the other person to help him, and the two continued to move to the Jiangyu store. As soon as they entered, they were seen and misunderstood by Chui, Can, and Jiang Ji. The two younger ones deliberately came over to make snide remarks and advised her not to waste time with this playboy Su Yang. But in the end, it was just a misunderstanding because they came here to discuss business. At the same time, the two younger ones quickly revealed their identities and were also asked about the relationship between the two of them. But Jiang Xiao directly announced that they were just normal friends. After hearing these words, Chui Can was sad as if he had been dumped. He was at the store sighing and lamenting. Suddenly, a group of people rushed in and provided them with boxes of ingredients without knowing their origin. The two young men suspected that it was sent by Jiang Ji because he had discovered them. Su Yang went to see his grandfather and proactively admitted that he had sent ingredients to the Li family on behalf of Jiangyu. As for Jiang Ji's knife claiming being misunderstood by other head chefs as being directed by Grandpa Jiang, he didn't want to explain further to the outside world. And after this knife claiming competition with the Li family, if Jiang Ji successfully claimed the knife, he planned to go see Jiang Ji, intending to welcome him home. And as soon as he heard this news, Su Yang became impatient and full of worry, preparing for the next plan for his own benefit. On the other side, Li Nai continued to work in the shop. Because she suspected that these expensive and rare ingredients were sent by Jiang Ji, she put on safety goggles and a dust mask just to be sure. Who knew that these were the ingredients that Su Yang had sent by mistake? After that, Li Nai started working seriously in a restaurant, then ran to Chuncheng to work overtime. But her state was always dazed and absent-minded. Jiang Ji immediately reminded her to focus and work seriously. Then Jiang Ji called Fang Xing and entrusted the remaining tasks at the restaurant to him, preparing to go to Sunset Restaurant to test the skills of the person challenging him. Li Nai was in the kitchen at that time. Seeing her boss hovering nearby, she was immediately frightened and pulled Chui Can down to hide. Then she handed over the kitchen to him and quickly changed back into her regular clothes and ran out with Jiang Ji, avoiding his discovery. Right after that, she came out pretending that nothing had happened, volunteering to try the dishes with Jiang Ji. At this time, Chwaikin was in the kitchen. He messed up the kitchen, making it smoky, which made the girl outside both worried and scared. Right before ordering, Linai had to pretend to go to the bathroom, then immediately ran into the kitchen to control the situation, instilling confidence in Chwaikin that he could definitely do it, asking Zhao Jing to stand by and direct. However, the dishes that were brought out were not delicious at all. Some were salty, some were bland, some were too spicy, and some were too bitter. Even Linai could hardly swallow them. Right now, the kitchen was still a mess. The whole kitchen was smoky. Linai frowned and forced herself to swallow the dishes that were brought out. Finally, because it was so bad, she threw up. She also continued to listen to Jiang Ji fearfully from the bottom of her heart, but didn't dare to show it, afraid that it would make Jiang Ji suspicious. After that, Jiang Ji was about to leave, but suddenly Jiang Xiu appeared and blocked the two of them. As soon as he heard the sound of that motorcycle, Chwaikin immediately recognized it as his crush's, and he was so scared that he trembled. He wasn't as worried when the kitchen was on fire earlier as he was now, because Jiang Xiu was really scary in an unpredictable way. Seeing her rush in, Chwaikin looked up at the circuit breaker, planning to cut the power if he was caught. After the crisis passed, Jiang Xiu continued to invite Chwaikin to hang out with her, but he refused and reminded her not to tease him anymore. Because he liked her, they couldn't be normal friends. At this moment, Jiang Xiu pulled him down and kissed him without hesitation, and then they confirmed their relationship. Linai sat in the car with Jiang Ji, her heart still full of worries. But at this moment, she still couldn't proactively reveal her background to him, directly leaving without hesitation. After Su Yang returned, he went to find President Shui, wanting her to help behind the scenes of the knife-claiming competition so that Jiang Ji would no longer be a threat to the 7 chef families. When Linai took advantage of her free time to visit her teacher in the hospital, he saw her sad face and began to persuade her to stop the knife-claiming. To him, both Linai and Jiang Ji couldn't make delicious food for the same reason. It was because they both didn't really like cooking at all. After hearing these words, Linai almost understood something. She received an urgent phone call and was about to leave immediately, but who knew that Jiang Xiu would come to see Chef Song Ming? Chwaikin called Linai for urgent help. At this time, he was meeting with Jiang Ji. It turned out that he was being questioned about his relationship with Jiang Xiu. Chwaikin honestly said that he sincerely liked her, promising to cherish this time. He also didn't care if Jiang Xiu really liked him or not. And right now, he also knew that she was very lonely and needed someone by her side. Chwaikin also promised that he would definitely become the first priority in Jiang Xiu's heart. On the other side, after Jiang Xiu went to meet Chef Song Ming, she was full of remorse and apologized, but he still smiled and comforted her, telling her not to be sad. It turned out that in the past, when Jiang Ji begged Song Ming to accept his sister, Jiang Xiu herself begged him not to accept her. This caused Jiang Ji to challenge him to claim the knife while Master, she was seriously ill. Just when Jiang Xiu said she wanted her brother to return the knife, but this wasn't important anymore. Then, Song Ming asked Jiang Xiu to keep a secret between the two of them. He also wanted to use this knife claiming to help Linai understand a profound truth and then return to doing what she wanted. Chwaikin, on the other side, was talking nicely with Jiang Ji. The young man received his trust and then changed the subject to Linai, saying that recently, every time she mentioned Jiang Ji, her psychology became strange. Brother Jiang immediately admitted that he liked her, but Linai didn't like him. And just as he said that, Linai appeared. She thought that Jiang Ji was bullying her people, so she aggressively demanded people, who knew it was an unnecessary misunderstanding, making the whole atmosphere really awkward. Shui Qian, while going down the stairs, said something about the password to Jiang Ji's house, guessing that it might be his birthday, and coincidentally, today was that day. As soon as she heard that, Linai immediately remembered what Jiang Ji had shared. She quickly ran back to the small kitchen and cooked. Her dishes were all very wonderful. However, in terms of skill, they were still far inferior to Jiang Ji, Zhao Jing commented. But right now, Linai didn't have time to listen anymore. She thanked everyone for coming to help try the dishes. Then she brought the beef and radish soup to Jiang Ji. At this time, he was sitting in the living room, watching videos of his childhood and gloomily drinking alcohol. Hearing the doorbell, he went out, but only saw the insulated food container. Realizing that it was Linai, he ran after her to the elevator, but because he was too drunk, he staggered and fell right into her. Linai had no choice but to take him back inside. Linai apologized for what she had done. Seeing Jiang Ji's unstable condition, she stayed to take care of him, then poured the soup she had prepared into a bowl. Jiang Ji sat back at the table and began to taste this dish, wanting her to stay with him. Then the two began to talk about the knife claiming. At this time, Jiang Ji had realized that the Li family heir was Linai. His heart was filled with mixed emotions, but he still ate the whole bowl of beef and radish soup she brought. Linai knew that her skill level was difficult to compete with his, but she also had no good words to comfort him. quickly apologizing and leaving. Unexpectedly, after going outside, she received a phone call from Chui Can, learning that Master, she was in critical condition. And after the emergency room lights turned off, the doctor came out and also informed the family to be mentally prepared. The next day was the day of the knife-claiming competition. Li Nai staggered to the scene. Due to her master's critical condition, Li Nai wasn't confident enough to appear in public, but remembering what he had said, Li Nai bravely stepped forward. Jiang Ji looked at the familiar person entering, a little absent-minded. Everyone around was watching this competition, expecting to see their wonderful performance. Both seriously prepared their dishes. The theme was beef. Jiang Ji made crispy fried beef, a perfect combination of Chinese and Western culture. As for Li Nai, she decided to make a simple and rustic beef and radish soup. Finally, the time was up, and everyone began to taste the dishes. The radish soup brought a warm and light flavor that reminded the judge of memories with his grandmother. Jiang Ji's crispy fried beef was also praised for its perfect combination that never disappointed. And it was time for the judges to make their choice. Currently, the score was tied. Chui Can's sister suddenly remembered Su Yang's words and hesitated a little. This time, she also wanted to enjoy the beautiful scenery from above. So she didn't hesitate to choose Li Nai. The audience in front and the audience on the small screen stood up when they saw this result. The judges directly announced the winner was Li Nai. Jiang Ji stood beside her, his face cold, without saying a word, holding the precious knife in his hand and giving it to the girl in front of him without hesitation. Although Li Nai was the winner this time, she was not happy at all. Right now, she was still sad about Master Shi's passing. She and Chui Can sat listlessly on the doorstep. After adjusting her emotions, Li Nai stood up without hesitation. She already had her own answer to what the teacher said back then. On the other side, Jiang Ji failed in the competition and was forced to close the restaurant and stop business. He stood in the kitchen, remembering his memories with Li Nai. Right after that, Fang Xing also came, refusing the bank card Jiang Ji offered and directly speaking his mind. He suspected that Li Nai had tampered with things to get this winning result. But Jiang Ji still believed that Li Nai had not done such things. Fang Xing was unwilling, wanting to reveal all of this to the press to put pressure on public opinion, and then have the opportunity to compete again. At the same time, Li Nai went outside. The surrounding reporters swarmed around, asking her if the competition result was due to the help of Chui Can's sister. In this situation, she directly got into the car to avoid the reporters, but unexpectedly, Chui Can was also surrounded by reporters. As soon as he escaped the crowd, Chui Can immediately went to find Chui Jing to clarify everything. Unexpectedly, he heard her talking on the phone with someone else about this. He angrily asked why Chui Jing cheated. Surprisingly, the sister in front of him was still calm, as usual, directly admitting the current situation of the company, demanding that her younger brother not reveal this truth to the outside world because the last time she helped Li Nai hide the business registration name. This time Chui Can had to help in return. After going outside, Li Nai discovered that her shop had been vandalized with spray paint. Suddenly, a masked man appeared behind her, preparing to attack her. Unexpectedly, Jiang Ji suddenly appeared and took a painful blow for her. Li Nai immediately took him to the hospital to check the wound. When she got there, she only dared to sit in the corridor, not daring to face him. Not long after, Fang Xing came, telling her everything that Jiang Ji had done was to reclaim the knife of the Jiang family, settling the score of the past for his father. After hearing all of that, Li Nai knew she had misunderstood Jiang Ji, and she was filled with remorse. After returning, she saw the fish lying listlessly on the ground. She almost collapsed, hugging her father and crying loudly. Then she went to her restaurant and buried herself in work. Coming early and leaving late, Chui Can had also quit his job. Returning home and seeing that the fish from yesterday was still alive and well, Li Nai decided to run and find Jiang Ji. But no matter how hard she knocked, only silence answered. It turned out that he was alone and drunk on the street, helping a shop owner check for real goods, then accidentally provoking some thugs on the street. While running away, he jumped onto a pickup truck but eventually fell asleep on it. When he woke up, he realized he had been transported to some mountainous area. The owner of the pickup truck happened to be the person he had helped yesterday. The young man was bewildered, went into his house, and immediately wanted to pay the fare to the uncle. And this man didn't hesitate to demand money. He immediately demanded 5,000 yuan. However, Jiang Ji had lost his phone, so this game was over. So, this Mr. Kunshan immediately treated him like a laborer, telling the neighbors that they could hire this young man to work. And so, the young man began his life of earning money to pay off his debt in this small village at the foot of the mountain. Jiang Ji went into the kitchen, saw Kunshan cooking in an unsanitary way, and complained about his behavior. But he didn't care at all and continued to finish his dish. However, as soon as Kunshan turned to leave, he stepped on a piece of radish on the ground. causing him to injure his hand severely and requiring a bandage. Jiang Ji then became Kun Shan's sous chef, helping him complete the cooking tasks. One fine day, he went to the store and successfully got his phone. 2 months passed quickly. Li Nai's restaurant business was getting better and better. Every day, they were busy entertaining customers with a smile on their faces. Every customer ate heartily, and that always made Li Nai happy every day. As soon as work was over, Zhao Jing pulled her aside, reminding Li Nai to agree to the interview. After learning that Jiang Ji had disappeared for 2 months, Li Nai's mood was also very uncomfortable. She also deliberately ran to his house to check, but only Jiang Xiu was there. The two of them drank together until they were drunk. In their drunken state, they asked each other about the news of the person they were dreaming of. And Li Nai didn't get an answer, so she quietly left. Jiang Ji had been working in a small village for 2 months, and he looked very chill. Today, Kun Shan again mentioned paying off the debt. He unhesitatingly slammed a stack of money into his hand, and the plot immediately following was to express their true purpose. It turned out that from the beginning, Kun Shan had recognized Jiang Ji, and Jiang Ji had also. This time, he wanted to get the 5-star knife from Kun Shan so that he could return and continue to challenge the Jiang family. But Kun Shan wouldn't easily agree. He made a condition that Jiang Ji had to play Chinese chess and beat everyone in this village. Then his wish would come true. At this time, Li Nai was at the shop, worrying about the rising price of ingredients. If they couldn't find cheaper ingredients this time, they would have to raise prices. But Li Nai couldn't concentrate because of Jiang Ji's situation. Then, the two girls decided to go to the market to find their own source of ingredients. However, they didn't achieve anything. The two were complaining on the street when Li Nai suddenly saw someone who looked very much like Jiang Ji driving a pickup truck. She immediately called Zhao Jing, but she didn't believe it all. Jiang Ji's chess skills improved rapidly. After a period of nonstop practice, no one was his opponent anymore. So, he went to challenge Kun Shan. At this time, he was still busy cooking noodles, so he cooked and played chess at the same time, and Kun Shan won easily. In order not to discourage Jiang Ji, he comforted him, saying that one tree can't make a forest, and one person alone can't do anything. Then he instructed the young man to prepare to welcome a guest who was coming. And that was Li Nai. Li Nai returned home and did some research. Remembering that Jiang Ji had wanted to find Kun Shan, she prepared to take her father there on the weekend to check it out. Unexpectedly, on this trip, she actually found a real person. At that time, she accidentally lost her father. When she rushed over, Jiang Ji was standing in front of her. He directly asked her what her purpose was in coming here. Ever since he experienced the defeat of having his knife taken last time, his attitude towards Li Nai was very indifferent and hateful. He didn't want to see her at all. Li Nai wanted to explain, but he refused to listen or understand. She could only feel helpless. At this moment, Kun Shan ran over. He warmly welcomed this god of wealth. Hearing that she was hungry, Kun Shan invited them to sit down and enjoy the local cuisine. The four of them sat together and ate, but Jiang Ji still had a sullen face, not wanting to talk to Li Nai at all. When he heard that Kun Shan wanted him to be Li Nai's tour guide, helping her explore this village, he was very angry, but to no avail. From the moment he saw Li Nai come here, Jiang Ji always misunderstood that she came to laugh at his defeated appearance, so he didn't want to be hospitable at all. It was only when Kun Shan explained that he realized that Li Nai really came here to buy ingredients. Finally, Jiang Ji had to take her to the garden to pick vegetables. On the way back, Li Nai couldn't stop hopping and telling him about Jiang Xiu. She even deliberately took out a picture of the fish to win Jiang Ji's favor, but he caught her and didn't turn on the lights for the fish. Just as Jiang Ji was talking, he suddenly bumped into a car behind him. As a result, he sprained his ankle and had difficulty walking. Finally, Jiang Ji was put on a 3-wheeled vehicle to return home. Occasionally, he was recognized by the neighbors, which was really embarrassing. He used Li Nai's bag to cover his face. After returning to the dining hall in the village, because Jiang Ji didn't want to see Li Nai, she asked Kun Shan to give him an egg. As soon as he saw it, he remembered the memories of the two of them. He spent the whole night hugging the egg and thinking. The next day, Li Nai went to the dining hall early. At this time, Jiang Ji was practicing playing chess. The girl sitting next to him made him very uncomfortable. Jiang Ji's next schedule was to chop wood for an aunt in the village, and taking advantage of that opportunity, he told Li Nai to help him chop all this wood. Then he disappeared. When she finished her work, she had lost track of her target. Li Nai returned dejectedly. Kun Shan gave her a signal. Li Nai immediately transferred 200 yuan to him to buy information, and then prepared her tools to go to the bamboo forest to dig for bamboo shoots. In the evening, Jiang Ji returned. Kun Shan didn't see Li Nai beside him and asked where she was. But Jiang Ji basically didn't know because he didn't go to the forest today. At that moment, they panicked and went to find her. Jiang Ji ran straight into the forest, shouting her name loudly. and quickly found Li Nai trapped in a large pit. She was very happy that Jiang Ji cared so much about her. But unexpectedly, he was cold, saying that they had never been on the same side, and also asking her not to bother him in the future. After being rescued, the next day Li Nai left this small village. Kunshan also took the initiative to find Jiang Ji and invite him to play a game of chess. This time, the young man won, but Kunshan didn't want to fulfill his promise. At this moment, Jiang Ji was so angry that he wanted to flip the chessboard, but at that moment, he realized Kunshan's meaning. Because the Chefs' League Association was the one controlling everything. Only by eliminating this organization could the Jiang family be completely defeated. Otherwise, it would be like Kunshan. Even if he won the chess game, he could only hide in a small village in the mountains and be deprived of everything. Defeating the Chefs' League Association had always been Kunshan's wish. Since Jiang Ji started the knife-claiming plan, Mr. Gu always thought that Jiang Ji had sent him out to eliminate those who disagreed. But after Jiang Ji claimed Songming's knife, he discovered that it wasn't so. Therefore, after Jiang Ji was defeated by Li Nai, he planned to approach him. Kunshan's purpose in letting Jiang Ji play chess was to train his mental endurance. And when he saw that the time was ripe, Kunshan took out his 5-star kitchen knife for him, passing on the essence of the Gu family's cooking skills. Jiang Ji received the knife, knelt down respectfully, and called a master. Jiang Xiao was busy in the kitchen. Suddenly, she heard people talking about the association preparing to inspect and evaluate the chowder restaurant. Then they talked about her. So, Jiang Xiao immediately taught them a lesson. Jiang Xiao finished her shift and rode her motorcycle to Chowda to check it out. Who knew that she would run into Chui Can, who had disappeared for 2 months? When asked, it turned out that Chui Can represented Chui Jing to secretly inspect and evaluate this restaurant. Chui Can also told Jiang Xiao that he would return to take over the business because the family situation was not favorable at the moment. Jiang Xiao was very disappointed by Chui Can's cold words. She angrily left. Chui Can returned to the office and sighed to his sister. This time, he might have to break up with Jiang Xiao. Not only Chowda was on the inspection list this time, but also Li Nai's Sunset restaurant. Regarding this issue, Su Yang had also specifically met with Chui Jing to discuss. He made it clear that Sunset restaurant could not pass the inspection, and he also didn't want any more 5-star restaurants to appear in Bichuan. Li Nai was preparing for the 5-star restaurant evaluation. Seeing her very worried look, Zhao Jing comforted her, saying that as long as they tried their best, they would pass. While they were talking, Jiang Xiao suddenly burst in and asked where Jiang Ji was. After reading the short article, Li Nai was stunned. Unexpectedly, Jiang Ji had left the small mountain village and returned to this city, so she immediately ran to find talent to recruit. Before Li Nai arrived, Jiang Ji had met many people. They all had the same purpose, to invite him to work at their restaurant. Jiang Ji scornfully said, even her Sunset restaurant had difficulty passing this inspection. How could she be qualified to invite him? After hearing those words, Li Nai immediately made an agreement that if her place successfully passed this test, he had to come work there. Jiang Ji confidently agreed. Chui Jing was so drunk she couldn't even stand. Chui Can came to pick his sister up at this time. On the way, she accidentally revealed that Su Yang didn't want the Sunset restaurant to pass the inspection. At the same time, he also saw the plan to open a chain of restaurants by Chui Jing and Su Yang. He was a little panicked. Su Yang knew that Chui Can and Li Nai had a good relationship, deliberately doing this so that he had to choose between friendship or family. After the two of them left, Zhu Hao was a little worried and asked Su Yang if Chui Can voted in favor, would this ruin their plan? Su Yang told her to rest assured because he had already calculated all of this. Even if Li Nai could get 1 vote from Chui Can, Sunset Restaurant would still have difficulty passing the survey. After saying that, he also told Zhu Hao not to tell Yuan Feng that Jiang Ji had returned. Li Nai knew that people from the association would definitely come to the restaurant secretly to inspect, so she carefully observed each customer, suspecting everyone of being an undercover inspector. Suddenly, Chui Can walked into the restaurant coldly. The person who had disappeared for 2 months suddenly appeared, making Li Nai so angry that she wanted to punch him. But when she found out that Chui Can had become an inspector, she couldn't have been more surprised. However, this was also a hope for Sunset Restaurant. With a brotherly bond between them, Li Nai was sure that she already had 1 vote, and the campaign to invite Jiang Ji back would have a higher percentage. Li Nai returned home. Hearing Ji Dong tell the story of how he pursued her mother in the past, she decided to learn from her father's tactics, which were persistence and stubbornness. Every day, Li Nai went to Jiang Ji's house and hovered around him like a goldfish. After Jiang Ji returned home, to prevent him from going to see Chao Lang, the successor of Chao Da, Li Nai and Zhao Jing took turns following his movements. But even so, Jiang Ji was still able to shake her off and arrive on time to meet Chao Lang. Jiang Ji was talking to Chao Lang when Yuan Feng suddenly appeared. Hearing him start to insult his father, Jiang Ji immediately mocked him back, making him both angry and furious, picking up a glass of water and wanting to throw it straight at Jiang Ji's face. But at this moment, Li Nai suddenly appeared, using her back to block the tea, telling Yuan Feng about his past with his twin brother. Then he angrily left, vowing to give Jiang Ji a show. Li Nai pretended to invite Jiang Ji to buy clothes to change, but they went to a shop to have chef uniforms tailored. It wasn't until evening that Jiang Ji could return. On the way, Su Yang suddenly blocked the road, disgruntledly asking if he had told Li Nai about their family. Jiang Ji indifferently replied, "This is the truth, not something made up by anyone, so why be afraid of others talking about it?" Su Yang was furious, reminding him that once Yuan Feng went crazy, there was no telling what he would do. At this moment, Jiang Ji suddenly realized that Li Nai might be in danger. He hurried back to Sunset Restaurant, but Li Nai wasn't there. Zhao Jing said that she had left with Jiang Xiu 10 minutes ago. He thought she must have gone to the Jiang family to talk to her grandfather, knowing that this was the most optimal way, but still couldn't help but worry. Li Nai went to see Ziqing, mentioning that someone didn't want her restaurant to pass this 5-star review. Without evidence, no one would believe it, so she showed him the camera footage of someone coming to her shop at night to smash it. She hinted that this was done by Yuan Feng. At this time, Grandpa Jiang was still calm, trying to cover up his son's actions and offering to help her find the person behind it. At this moment, Li Nai played her trump card, sighing and saying that if she didn't pass this review, she could still go outside the province and take advantage of the chain of restaurants that Su Yang and Shui Jing were planning to establish. At this moment, Grandpa Jiang was stunned, inviting Li Nai to sit down and talk, and agreeing to help her pass the 5-star review easily. On the other side, Yuan Feng learned that Li Nai had gone to find Ziqing. He was very angry and wanted to teach her a lesson, but before he could do anything, Jiang Ji drove up and scared the hell out of him. Jiang Ji pulled him up from the ground, one hand pressing on his neck and the other controlling him, angrily reminding him that his father's matter 18 years ago, sooner or later, he would repay. He also threatened that if he dared to do anything to Li Nai again, he would cripple his hand like he did to his father years ago. Su Yang went to see his grandfather alone. Ziqing made his grandson kneel for half an hour, saying that Bichuan was the root of the 7 great families. The idea of opening a chain of restaurants would bring great profits, but also meant that the foundation of the 7 families would disappear. Su Yang didn't dare to say anything in front of his grandfather. Only after he left it, he dared to stand up and go outside. Zhu Hao came to help him sit down, asking him with a bit of suspicion why Ziqing knew about this, also suspecting that Chui Kin was the one who revealed it. Su Yang thought that this had nothing to do with Chui Kin because he hadn't joined the restaurant chain. However, now that there was such a stumbling block, he had to personally teach the 2 Chui siblings a lesson. With Ziqing's intervention, Sunset Restaurant successfully passed the inspection. Jiang Ji also proactively joined the restaurant and became the sous chef. At this moment, he quietly asked Li Nai if she was the one who deliberately lured Yuan Feng to the coffee shop that day. She didn't deny it and said that this was carefully discussed and decided by her and Zhao Jing, just a bet on one round. That day, Zhao Jing had analyzed the complex relationship within the Jiang family. Currently, Ziqing didn't want to give up the great power of the clan, while Su Yang had great ambition and desire. And the only way to deal with Su Yang was to use the power of the Jiang family itself. To achieve this goal, they decided to take advantage of Yuan Feng, who acted recklessly without thinking. So this would be a big breakthrough. After Chun Chung closed, Fangxing submitted many job applications to restaurants large and small. The 5-star restaurants rejected him, and even the 4-star restaurants didn't dare to invite him. Zhu Hao learned of this information and immediately went to find him, introducing him to work for Su Yang at the Jiangyu restaurant. She promised that as soon as he came, he would become the sous chef, and after a year, the position of head chef would also belong to him. In the evening, Li Nai and the others held a celebration party by the lake. Jiang Ji just heard the news that Fangxing had joined Su Yang and suddenly felt disappointed. He didn't even have the mood to eat. Li Nai saw this and took him to the snack street behind to relieve his worries. After going through everything, they sat down on the steps and talked. Li Nai revealed that she had lied to him before, saying that Sunset Restaurant would join forces with him to claim the knives. But in fact, Li Nai didn't want to claim any more knives. She wanted to work with everyone to run the restaurant well, become the #1 restaurant in Bichuan in all categories, and then request the association to abolish this knife-claiming system. However, for Jiang Ji, this wasn't enough to create a new reality for other small chefs who were being trampled underfoot. He expressed his thoughts and also revealed that he had obtained Kun Shan's knife. Li Nai suddenly understood, agreeing with Jiang Ji to change the status quo of the Bichuan Chefs Association. Since the day Jiang Ji came to work at Sunset Restaurant, the number of female customers increased rapidly. They were basically all fans of Jiang Ji. Every so often, Jiang Ji would be called out to serve. Li Nai was very jealous. She couldn't stand it anymore and made him stay in the kitchen. Then she went out alone to disappoint those female customers. Soon, Jiang Ji also became jealous because he saw Li Nai talking happily with a male customer. This man not only frequently came to the restaurant to eat, but today he also specially invited Li Nai to go to the cinema. As soon as the invitation was made, Jiang Ji appeared with a broom, bluntly refusing and saying that Li Nai was still busy with many things in the shop. Not a single day was free. Li Nai saw this and thought it was a bit rude, so she called the male customer outside to politely refuse. Then she went inside and pretended to ignore Jiang Ji, making him curious about what she had said to the guy. Finally, in the kitchen, Li Nai seriously asked him why he wouldn't allow her to go to the movies with that person. Jiang Ji didn't care about face anymore, frankly admitting that he liked her. Hearing this confession, Li Nai also replied that she liked him too. The atmosphere became romantic, and the two couldn't help but prepare to give each other a passionate kiss. Who knew that Zhao Jing would suddenly return, forcing them to run outside as if nothing had happened. Zhao Jing pulled Li Nai to go see her father. Before leaving, she whispered goodbye to her lovely boyfriend. Jiang Ji thought about Li Nai giving him the title of boyfriend, and he was so excited he couldn't sleep. And Li Nai was the same. Finally, they had cultivated to fruition, so they were late to fall asleep. Early the next morning, Jiang Ji came to find Li Nai. Knowing that Ji Dong wasn't home, the two made up for yesterday's kiss. Coming to work in the morning, Jiang Ji greeted her with a fragrant bouquet of fresh flowers and a cake with the flavor of love. And Li Nai also prepared a love lunch for him, which also had 2 bears representing the two of them. While they were talking, Xiao Wang came over. Li Nai, afraid that their love would be exposed, immediately scolded Jiang Ji for being late and also returned the bouquet of flowers. Jiang Ji then pretended to be angry and didn't want to pay attention to her. Li Nai hugged him tightly and apologized. Jiang Ji then smiled and stopped being angry. At lunch, they hid in a corner and ate the love lunch they had prepared, feeding each other when Zhao Jing walked by and saw them. Li Nai immediately pushed Jiang Ji to the ground, then ran after Jingjing to make excuses and cover up. When Zhao Jing left, Jiang Ji sulkily asked why she didn't want to make their relationship public. Was it because she didn't like him that much? At this time, Li Nai had to kiss him to make Jiang Ji stop being angry. Zhao Jing's husband suddenly passed away, so she had to go out to attend the funeral. Therefore, she asked Li Nai to take care of her lovely daughter, Zhou. Only now did Li Nai know that Zhao Jing had been married for a long time and also had a daughter this big. Then, Li Nai took Zhou to Jiang Ji's house, but she suddenly realized that she didn't have the password to his house, so the two sat there and waited all day. When Jiang Ji returned, Li Nai asked him to change the password to the day they started dating. After confirming that Zhou had fallen asleep, this couple began to act like adults, but before they could have a deep kiss, there was a loud noise in Zhou's room. It turned out that she had pretended to be asleep and then messed up the whole room. Ziqing invited the Chui siblings and his 2 grandchildren to the restaurant for dinner, also intending to pair Chui, Can, and Jiangxiu together. But Chui Can interrupted, saying that they used to be lovers, but now they had broken up. Hearing Chui Can's words, Jiangxiu turned purple with anger, saying that she hated him very much, and then left. And the next day, Chaoling also came to the Jiang family, desperately pursuing Jiangxiu. Although she didn't like him, she deliberately held his hand and hooked his arm to provoke Chui Can, also saying that she would take Chao Lang to her room to see it. Hearing those words, Chui Can could only feel sad in his heart, not knowing how to soothe her. Chui Can complained to Li Nai, feeling that his friend was too miserable because of love, and advised her to honestly tell Jiangxiu. But Chui Can said with a bitter face, worried that if he got back with Jiangxiu, Chui Jing and Su Yang would be wary of him, and his task of being a spy would be in vain. Li Nai returned home to change, and just as she went downstairs to wait for Jiang Ji, Su Yang appeared, inviting her for coffee and trying to provoke and divide the relationship between her and Jiang Ji, and also talking about how the results of the knife claiming before were faked. Unexpectedly, this made Li Nai have a bold idea, which was to claim the knife of the Jiang family. Then the position of the Jiang family would be replaced, and his plan would be stopped. After Li Nai announced, Su Yang regretted wanting to slap his face. Li Nai turned to leave, but before she left the door, someone called her back. It turned out that Jiang Ji had realized something strange and had come to find her. He was ready to implement this knife-claiming plan with Li Nai. Chui Can want to find Jiangxiu, but she angrily chased him away. Jiang Ji received a call from Jiangxiu, and he ran to comfort his sister. Jiangxiu was sitting alone on the swing. When Jiang Ji arrived, the girl began to laugh at herself, saying that she had failed. Her brother also shared that his life for the past 18 years had also experienced many difficulties, from being bullied at the orphanage to being bullied in the kitchen when he went abroad. But all of those things were nothing. Right now, what they needed to do was follow the direction of their heart. He also apologized to Jiang Xiao for hiding from her the matter of wanting to avenge their father, forgetting that she also wanted to help her brother fulfill his wish. Jiang Xiao really didn't blame him. After hearing that Sunset Restaurant wanted to challenge Jiang Yu, she happily accepted and also said that family matters were family matters, while the competition with Li Nai was something else. So she would definitely do her best and wouldn't give in to anyone. Li Nai wanted to claim the Jiang family's knife had become the focus of news in Bichuan. Everyone was discussing who would be the winner, the Jiang family's young genius or Li Nai, who had defeated Jiang Ji. Regarding this issue, the staff in the Jiang Yu kitchen were also thinking too much. They worried that this time the opponent was her brother, and she would give in, causing the whole restaurant to close. It wasn't until Jiang Xiao came to Jiang Yu to start her shift that they realized they had been thinking too much. Although Chui Kin was rejected by Jiang Xiao, he still secretly cared about her. Today, the lights in the Jiang Yu kitchen suddenly went out. Chui Kin secretly came to replace the bulb for her. But as soon as he reached the door, he was discovered by Jiang Xiao. She once again rejected him, saying that the two were not suitable for each other. Hearing those words, the young man ignored her and proposed marriage. He promised that he would never suddenly disappear again, but would always be by her side at any time. After that, Chui Kin went home and stole the family register to go register for marriage. But who knew that the young man would discover the marriage contract between Su Yang and his sister? He only had time to take a picture and send it randomly to someone in the conversation, then quickly deleted the chat history. Chui Jing discovered that her younger brother was in her office, led people to catch Chui Can, then locked him in a locked room. After restraining Chui Can, Chui Jing went to apologize to Su Yang and also took her younger brother's phone to prove that the contract had not been transmitted to the outside. Then she promised that before the knife-claiming competition ended, she would lock Chui Can in the house and not let him go out to transmit any news. Zhao Jing tasted it and didn't expect Li Nai's cooking to become more and more delicious and special. While they were laughing and joking happily, Kunshan suddenly ran over, saying that Chui Can suddenly send him a picture of this contract and then said nothing, he couldn't contact him. Li Nai guessed that something bad must have happened to him. At this moment, Jiang Xiao also ran over, saying that Chui Can went home to steal the family register to register for marriage, but he hadn't been seen since. After thinking it over, she realized that he might have been caught by Chui Jing. Chui Can was locked in the room, about to use a spoon to pry open the door, when suddenly Jiang Xiao's voice rang out, telling him to stay away from the door. Then she directly used a chainsaw to cut through the door, successfully rescuing the hero. When the big man saw it, the two held hands and ran away. Then they went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register for marriage and get a certificate. Seeing his younger sister get married, Jiang Ji turned to remind Li Nai that they should also speed up. The knife-claiming competition officially began. As soon as Jiang Xiao arrived at the competition venue, the reporters swarmed around, asking if she would go easy on Li Nai. Jiang Xiao's angry answer made it clear she would compete with her real strength. Su Yang saw Chui Can standing next to Jiang Xiao and reminded her not to forget that Chui Can was from Sunset Restaurant. Being together like that was inappropriate. But too bad, Jiang Xiao smirked and along with Chui Can, raised their hands and announced that they had officially become husband and wife. To prevent Jiang Xiao from failing in today's competition, Su Yang had made many preparations. He sent someone to find Jidong and bring him to the competition venue to distract Li Nai. As soon as she heard that her father was in the hall on the first floor, she rushed down in the elevator. She carefully instructed Jiang Ji to stay and watch over Su Yang's group, afraid that they would do something. Not long after Li Nai left, Zhu Hao suddenly came over, whispering that Li Nai was in trouble. After Su Yang learned that Zhu Hao was pregnant, he coldly told her to go to the hospital to have it aborted. This completely chilled Zhu Hao's heart. For the sake of her unborn child, she decided to turn over a new leaf. Jiang Ji hurriedly left the competition venue. Knowing that Li Nai was trapped in the elevator, he was worried and restless, and also didn't want to leave, wanting to be with her. Li Nai then analyzed that the competition was the most important thing right now, then followed Li Nai's words and returned to the scene to prepare for the competition just before the referee announced that Sunset Restaurant had lost because the contestant was not present. Su Yang didn't expect Jiang Ji to participate in the competition because Jiang Ji wasn't the head chef of Sunset Restaurant, so he wanted the referee to vote to disqualify him. Li Nai learned of this from Chui Can and wrote a note saying that she had lost in the previous match, so the current head chef position was held by Jiang Ji. Chui Can took the note up and verified for everyone that this was true. The competition finally began, but there was a new problem, which was Feng Xing. He followed Su Yang's orders and went up to the competition floor to be Jiang Xiao's assistant. Then during the time to choose ingredients and spices, he took all the oil and salt, making it difficult for Jiang Ji to make his dish. At the crucial moment, Jiang Ji looked at Jiang Xiao remembering the scene when he first came to the orphanage. Then he remembered his promise to his sister that he would cook her a delicious meal. Then Jiang Ji started to work. He used pork fat to render oil and used red jellyfish to create salt. And his dish today was a children's lunchbox. It was time for the judges to vote. Cui Jing was preparing to vote for Jiang Xiu when suddenly there was a sound from the loudspeaker. The content was that Cui Jing had faked the results in the previous knife-claiming competition between Jiang Ji and Li Nai. After being rescued, Li Nai returned with Zhu how to prove the matter. Su Yang, at this point, still wanted Cui Jing to deny that fact. But she considered it again and finally admitted that she had been unfair in the competition results because she followed the agreement with him. Through the joint efforts of Jiang Ji, Li Nai, and others, the Bichuan Chefs League Association was finally successfully abolished. A month later, Jiang Xiu and Cui Can went to the hospital for a checkup, coincidentally also running into Zhu Hao, who was also coming for a pregnancy checkup. Jiang Xiu was pregnant and didn't want others to know, so she couldn't help but complain about Cui Can. On the other side, Sunset Restaurant had received a challenge from French chef. Li Nai didn't hesitate to agree. She believed that Chinese food was not inferior to those Western dishes, using 100% of her confidence, determined to bring back victory. And here the movie ended, a little regretful that we didn't get to see the main couple get married. But they must be very happy together. No one expected that two children who lost contact with each other for 18 years would meet again, first becoming enemies, then finally ending up on the same path. If you think this movie is good, remember to like and subscribe to the channel to receive notifications about the next good movies. Have a nice day watching movies.